Live, live, live. Everyone is live. We're all live. Mike is live. All right, people, come in and join us. All right, so we're here to answer all your home buying questions about mortgages, the interest rates, the programs, what it takes to buy a house, what it takes to buy a second house, an investment property, different programs that you're hearing about that pay for down payments, that help you get investment properties, that help you get units. Whatever you guys looking for, fill up the chat box with everything that's on your mind. We'll get to every single one of you. We'll answer all the questions. Anything that's on your mind as far as this process is concerned, let us know. Whole lot going on with the interest rate talks. Whole lot of data being tossed around. What's real? What's not real? So let us know what's on your mind. Fill up the chat box and we will get to you. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of people, speculators, talking about what's going on with interest rates. A whole lot of people talking about what's happening with the Fed, when the rates are going to drop, what to do in the meanwhile. It's a new format. Just looks different, huh? Mm-hmm. That's new on my side too. So what is going on with the interest rates? What is the Fed going to do? What are they talking about when it comes to interest rates? So here's what I got this morning, okay? It's in line with what you've been hearing here. It's probably in line with what you hear at a few different other places. But is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to buy when it comes to interest rates? So here's going to be the answer, guys. Here's the answer when it comes, is it a good time to buy? So a lot of you are trying to time the market, even if it's your primary residence, your house that you're going to live in, the house you're going to raise your children in, the house that you're going to send them to school in. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to time it. Because what you're going to do is maybe get yourself a slightly better deal, maybe get yourself a slightly better interest rate, maybe wait until the prices actually go up higher than what you could spend today. So I would say don't try to time it, especially if this is going to be your primary residence, because over time, regardless of what you look at as far as charts are concerned, Google it. Say, what are house values in the 1940s, 1980s, 1990s through today? What has the chart done? It's done this. It's always gone up. There's ups, there's downs, there's ups, there's downs, there's ups, there's downs, but always trajectory is up. You would have equity today if you bought last year or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. So that's all irrelevant. But what's happening with interest rates, Lee?
So let me take one thing off the table entirely. This is very important, very important. I've got probably 2 or 3 different borrowers that I'm having to go through this conversation with. This is very important. What you learn in the next few minutes will dictate how you house hunt. Here's what it is. It's not a matter of whether you refinance. You are going to refinance. You are going to. Mathematically, it makes sense. Mathematically, no matter what, no matter which loan officer is in front of you, you're going to refinance. It's not a question of whether you refinance. So, if you're looking for the absolute best bang up situation right now, best rate, it's not the way to approach it. You are going to refinance. People say, hey, should I buy it down? Should I buy it down deep? And I say, not right now. Most of the time, unless it's for qualifying, do not, not the best move. Why? Because I'll give you a 3-1 buy down in just a second. But if you buy down right now, it costs you money. And sometimes it can cost you as much as $22,000 is what I gave this morning. $22,000 to buy down from current rate all the way down to in the 5s. It's amazing. You can buy 5s. But then they said, is it a good idea to do that? And I said, no, I don't think so. Here's why. Because if you spend that money and you buy down right now, all you're thinking about is rate in this really shitty environment. And that's not the time to think about rate. That's the time to think about locking in purchase price. Once you've got purchase price, make sure you got that property. Because if you get the purchase price and you get the property, it's not a, hey, maybe I'll refinance in about 2 or 3 years. Not maybe. You will refinance. No question about it. You will refinance. And if you approach your house hunting with that mindset, going, hey, listen, I'm going to refinance. I don't think for a second I'm going to get one of the best rates today, because even the best rate out there, like I said, I can buy down into the 5s right now. can buy down into the 5s. Is it smart? Probably not. You know what the smartest thing is? Getting the house. If you get the house, and then, cool, I'm now a homeowner. Cool. Whatever rate it is, it's going to go down. It's going to go down. We've got the charts that prove it. I got a lot of charts here. The chairman of the Federal Reserve, his name is Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell. He actually predicts what's going on. Nay, not predicts, kind of dictates the direction the economy is going to go. Not entirely, because it is driven by market factors, but he can increase or decrease the Fed funds rate. And the Fed funds rate is called the M1 in the economy. The M1 moves the economy largely, and it's got consequences for it. So if, like, there's a lot of people say, hey, this is a good idea to do this right now. Listen, even though it might look like a good idea, sometimes it's not a good idea long term. I'll tell you why. If he dropped the rates like 3 points today, it would be like crack cocaine. Everybody would be amazing. We'd be like, I'd be making a lot of money. He'd be making a lot of money. The realtors would be making a lot of money. Everybody would be making a lot of money. But when it comes time to pay the bill, you don't want it. The back end of that crack cocaine is horrible. Horrible. So this guy, Jerome Powell, knows that. And because he knows that, he's governing the economy so that we can get to the spot correctly. Currently, we're at 5.25% Fed funds rate, 5.25%. Now, what that translates into in mortgage rates is about 150 basis points to 250 basis points. So 5.5 takes to about 7, all the way up to about 8. So somewhere in that range. You can buy deeper. You can buy into the 6s. You can even buy into the 5s. But par rates are in the 7s. So if we're at 5.25 and the Fed believes we're going to drop down to 2.5, that's a 3-point drop. So the simple math is we're going to go from 7s, drop 3 points, we're in the 4s. That's the reality. And that's going to happen in the next 2.5 years, according to the FOMC, Fair Open Markets Committee. These are the people that govern the direction of the U.S. economy, and the U.S. economy is the backbone for the globe. Very, very important. What do we got?
Maria Mendoza, only Cali?
No, Maria Mendoza. Every state in the union. All states. All states. I got some going right now in Illinois, I think Louisiana, Texas, Cali. I think that's it, right? Florida. So we've got files, active files right now in all of those states. And the environment's a little bit different in all states. A little bit different. Like, for instance, in Florida, average days on the market is 53 days. That's a long time on the market. Long time. In California, not as much.
All right.
What?
Double chicken patty. Hey, are you guys the ones that were outside on the corner the other day? Yep, that was us. That was us on the corner. If I John Carlos Vito Jr. Actually, back to the corner thing. So here's what we found, guys. So our traction that we're getting on these lives is all over the place right now. One day we'll get thousands, another day we'll get hundreds. It's so all over the place. But what we identified, and hopefully this helps you guys too, is location. So if you move yourself around, the algorithm somehow knows where you're at by a geolocation and brings in a lot of people. Actually, we're getting a lot of people we've never seen before on these new lives. So yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll be outside in the corner again soon. John Carlos, best time to refinance?
The best time to refinance. John Carlos, that's a very good question. So if you believe this guy, which is Jerome Powell, and the FOMC, and history, because the good news is there's been a financial market for about 200 years, and we can track it. We've been tracking it for about 200 years, and it runs in cycles, goes up and down, up and down. In fact, these guys and this guy refer to it as cycles. He has said about 8 months ago that we reached the peak of the cycle, which is why rates haven't gone up a lot. They haven't gone up at all, actually. Fed funds rate is 5.25, 5.5. But the market dictates that we're going to hover above that. Think about a ship when the tide rises. The heavier ships will bounce like this. The lighter ships maybe a little bit more. But the tide brings up all ships. Well, when the Fed funds rate goes down, rates are going to do the same thing. They're going to go up and down based off of that. So if you believe what they're forecasting, and this is on the internet, it's the FOMC website, they're saying that around the end of 26, beginning of 27, the Fed funds rate will be about 2.5%. 2.5%. So if they're correct on the cycle, the right time to refinance, end of 26, beginning of 27, and then save your money to buy that bad boy deep. Buy that bad boy as deep as you can. Because if you're in the 4s at par, you can buy to the 3s, maybe even the 2s. And it's going to cost you some money. But over the long haul, very good move. Very good move.
Double chicken patty. If I refinance right now, would I get a better rate than what I have now? Double chicken patty. What is your rate?
Yeah, depends on what you have right now.
I don't know.
Yeah. If you have 8.5 and you refinance right now, I wouldn't recommend it. But you could get 7.5. You might even get into the 6s. If you put some money into it, you might even get to the 5s.
I think a good way to look at it is if you purchased in the last 18 months, probably not. Yvonne Trode, usually in this market, the buy down is not worth it.
Yvonne, that is correct. The only
Smart.
time I say the buy down is worth it is because sometimes people are on the edge of debt to income ratio. And income ratio, let's say that at a 7.5, you're at a 57 back-end ratio on an FHA loan. But at 7.25, you're at a 54 back-end ratio. At that point, it makes sense to do it. Doesn't matter because this doesn't qualify. This does. You have to do it.
Yeah, there are cases where it's necessary, and I'll give you one right now. I'm actually working a file where they were qualified originally FHA because it was the better deal. Just made more sense, less out of pocket, get them a higher purchase price. And with that, very small, tiny little buy down, like 0.3, something like that. But they're in a competitive market right now. They're just outside of LA. They're in a bidding wars in all the properties. They can't sink one for themselves. One of the thoughts was to go conventional because if you go conventional, you can waive the appraisal contingency and a few other things that make it a little bit more competitive. But in this scenario, they have a very low FICO. For conventional. It's a 628 FICO. Guess how much their buy down is in their market? $17,000. So in this case, they're going to go from like $1,000 to $17,000 out of pocket. But if this sinks their property and it gets them to where they need to be, maybe worth it.
If you lock in that property, lock in that property. The ones who can qualify to buy a property right now, it really is the best time. And in about 5 years, you go like, hey, that was good advice. Right now, it looks scary because just to qualify for that property is hard for most people.
Don't
Very
try to
difficult.
time it. If it's your primary, don't try to time it. Double chicken patty. Do I have to send my questions elsewhere so you guys can see them?
No, don't go double chicken patty. All you got to do is send them to us. We are here and we can answer them.
Yvonne Trode. Last year, I had a guy lock a rate slightly over par, 7.689, got back $1,200, and then this year refied to 6.5.
That's better. That's better. But again, it's not a matter of will you refinance. You are going to refinance. You are going to. You know what's going to happen? As soon as the rates go down, all these low-level lenders are going to pop in and they're going to start buying what's called trigger leads. And the trigger leads are going to be anytime your rate goes below a certain amount, it'll trigger it. Or whenever you pull your credit, it will trigger it. And once they buy the trigger lead, you're just going to get hounded by people saying, hey, you want to refinance? Because the world knows you're at 8%. The world knows it. It's public information. If you refi or if you finance in 2024, you're in the 7s or 8s. That's how it happens. You might be in the 6s, maybe, but you bought it down. And once we're in the 4s, every lender out there is going to be going, hey, it's a good time to refi, good time to refi, good time to refi, good time to refi. Sooner or later, you go, all right, let's run the numbers. And you're going to go, hey, yeah, it makes sense. But if you're going to do this strategically, you have to understand when the cycle is going to be close to the bottom. That's when you're doing it strategically. And we will teach you how to do it strategically.
Not just that, Yvonne, but factor this. So the talks are still, there's going to be one rate reduction this year, okay? That rate reduction may be an eighth, maybe
One?
a quarter. Yeah.
Where'd you hear one from? Did you hear it from him? Fed Jerome.
Hold on. No, not from Jerome.
Okay.
And this is why I say speculation.
Okay.
Because everything's speculation. That one may be an eighth. It may be a quarter of a point. And if that happens, it's not going to be a big change in interest rates. So you're going to keep chasing the rate down, paying all the fees included to do a refinance. So math it out, Yvonne, because you can probably refinance based on that data. You can refinance probably once every 3 to 6 months in the next couple of years. And that's going to be a lot in fees. Will you have a better payment? yes, you're also going to redo your 30-year or 25-year or 20-year, wherever you're at too. So that's going to recast. But you are going to refinance, like he said, and there's going to be an ultimate point somewhere at the bottom, and that's probably a couple years out. So just think about that. Athena, underwriter here, is 100% correct. He is 100% correct. Thank you, Athena, back in the house. We've seen you a lot over the couple of months, so thank you for joining us again. Danny D, is it ever wise to waive an inspection?
Danny D, sometimes, but not. It has to be done because the buyer-borrower wants to do it, not because the realtors want to do it. The realtors are trying to make a commission. I don't fault them for that, but if they can, the more things that stand in the way of their commission, they don't want to do it. Many realtors look at their client first, but not all. That's just the reality of life. So, if you wanted to waive an inspection, you have to know why. If somebody said, hey, listen, I want you to waive the termite inspection. All right. So if that's the seller who says he wants you to waive the termite, why does he want you to waive the termite? He wants you to waive it because there might be termites in there. In fact, he probably knows. He's probably seen termites, and he doesn't want to find out. So in all loans except the VA loan, you can waive the termite inspection. So the seller goes, hey, will the buyer waive the termite inspection? If the realtor is looking after the buyer, he'll go, what's wrong there? What's wrong with this that you want us to waive the termite inspection? You don't pay for it. Seller doesn't pay for it. So what's wrong with it that you want us to waive the termite inspection? So then you go, okay, the agent will talk to the buyer and say, they want us to waive the termite inspection. They'll accept our offer if we do. Now, if you read undertow, the tea leaves, however you want to say it, if you read there might be termites in there. And they don't want nobody to know because I don't know, I don't see. They want to do that. Now, does that benefit the buyer or borrower? Maybe. Here's why. Let's say the buyer or borrower is smart and says, well, if there are termites in there, how much will it cost to tent it? And they get a quick quote and they say, hey, it'll cost me $4,000 to tent it. Okay, $4,000 and a week. All right. If they get a price lower by $5,000 and say, hey, listen, in the event that I have to tent this, I want a lower price. And the seller says, well, if you're not going to ask for it, if you don't ask for the termite, we can waive it, and you waive it, and you want $5,000 less on the price, we're all good. Now, all parties are informed. We know what almost the worst case scenario is. Almost. Because almost the worst case scenario is you have to tent it. The worst case scenario is that the termites have eaten through the wood so bad you have structural damage. That's a different game. Now that one should have been caught in a different inspection, but unless you know you're looking for it, you don't know to look for it. And it's really strange because I've been to enough houses where you look at the bottom of the sills and you see something that looks like sawdust. It's not sawdust. Termite poop. What? When you have enough termites, termite poop looks like sawdust. And if you see that in a lot of places, you know there's structural damage somewhere there. The question is, what the extent is it at? What extent? So, is it wise to waive an inspection? Mostly no, but sometimes, as long as you're well informed and you know what you're doing, sometimes it's an advantage.
Yep, exactly. And Danny D, for a first-time home buyer with limited cash, not going to be the best move.
Yeah.
These are big boy moves. So if you do know what you're doing, if you have a great agent, they can guide you. They can tell you costs and things that are involved with waiving stuff. But expect to write a check if that's the route you're going to go. Mm-hmm. Amanda Johnson, do you do New York?
We do New York. New York, we're excited to say that, Amanda. About 2 months ago, New American Funding, big bank, got approved to do business in New York. We've been doing business in 48 states for most of the years that we've been alive, which is like 30 years or something like that, except Hawaii and New York. About 6 months ago, we got the green light in Hawaii. About 2 months ago, we got the green light in New York. We have not personally funded a deal in New York. I'm working 2 or 3. You working some?
Yep.
But we have not funded one. Amanda, we would like to fund your deal first in New York.
Hernandez, are you guys suggesting to buy now?
You take
So when it comes to your primary residence, guys, I've said this time and time again. When it comes to your primary residence, there's not a bad time to buy. There's not a bad time to buy. Pull up a chart. Just Google historical values across the United States since 1940, 50, 60, 70, 80. Pick whatever decade to start at, okay? The chart does this. So you're always going to build equity, even during the worst times in real estate history. For example, let's say you bought it in 2006 at one of the peaks of buying and values in our history, okay? And then 2008 starts a crash. The bottom of that was probably somewhere between 9 and 12, okay? So it went like this, and then it went like this, okay? If you held that property, guess where that value is? So it was peak here in 6, it bottomed out here in 8 and 12, somewhere there, but your value's here today. So if you're trying to time your primary residence, now I'm talking about the properties where you're raising your children, the properties where it's close to your work, close to your life, close to your grocery store, close to your family, okay? These are the properties that will always be there, making value, getting the gains, getting the losses, getting the gains, getting the losses. So it's always going to come back. So if you're that person looking for a place to lock in and raise a family and grow a life, yeah, it's a fantastic time to buy. If you're an investor that's trying to time things and you have the time and the money to do so, yeah, sure, have fun with it. Try to find the bottom, try to find the top. That's okay for you guys. But for your people that are going to live in it, I say yes, it's a fantastic time to buy.
If your starter home has a pool, score! I'm working on one where the starter home has a pool.
Some of them have
like
bonuses.
Badass, yeah. So here's something that, this is a chart. It's really hard to see. If you guys ever want these charts, just text me and I'll send it to you. What this chart shows is that this is the housing need right here, this line. And this is the surplus and deficit. So this is 2022 is where this chart stops. Surplus was in 2010. There was so many houses being built in 2010 that we had a surplus. But after the crash, we are in a deficit and we have not fixed that deficit. What does that mean? That means even when rates go down, there's not enough houses, which means prices go up dramatically.
Yeah. So if you hang in there and wait, for that better deal, you might be paying a lot more for that house. Better interest rate down the road, but you're going to pay a lot more for that house. Lynn's Few. I live in Houston. Should I buy now or wait? Same answers, Lynn.
Yeah. In
Same
Houston,
answers.
Houston's got some very unique spots. Right on the center of Houston gets real expensive. But if you get to the outer spots of Houston, you can get a really nice house for 300 grand, 400 grand, somewhere in that range. Really nice house. So it is this. If you're paying rent right now, let's just say you're paying $3,000 a month rent. That's average across the nation. Crazy. But $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year. Times 3 years is over 100 grand. You're paying 100 grand towards somebody else's property. Not yours, you never get it back. If you buy that property, $3,000 a month will get you roughly $320,000, $350,000, maybe as much as $400,000. Maybe that far. And you're paying your mortgage down. You're building equity. And you have a big write-off. So, is it a good idea? If it's time in your family to buy, absolutely. It's a good idea.
Anna, so time to butt in California would be around 26 or 27. 26, 27 is we're not looking at prices in that time frame. We're looking at interest rates. So 26, 27, according to the charts that Lee shares every single day, that's probably going to be about the bottom of an interest rate market, okay?
To refinance.
Interest rate. Well, buy interest rate. I mean, refinance, whatever it is. But values. Here's what you got to pay attention to, Anna, is history, okay? And you don't have to go that far back. Just go back to 2020, 2021, okay? Rates were here. Values were here. Rates went down and values went skyrocket through the roof. What's going to happen when interest rates drop in 26? Let's say that 26 is the bottom, okay? Once again, interest rates are here. Values are here. Interest rates drop, what's going to happen to those values? They're going to skyrocket. So, like Lee said, if you can get in today, get in today. Because when the rates do drop, you'll have an opportunity to refinance, okay? Get out of that high rate, get into a lower rate, set yourself up for a good scenario, and your purchase price is going to be lower than those that are buying in 26 and 27.
Yep.
Anna, 5% right now. So, should I wait? Marrying a vet, should I place home under his VA loan?
So 5% interest rate right now? Is that what you're saying, Anna? If you have a 5% interest rate, even if you're a vet, even the VA loan can't beat a 5% right now. They can't. We're not even in that realm. It's unrealistic for any lender. And they can sell you their loss leader saying, hey, I can buy it all the way down. Yeah, it costs you $22,000. Doesn't make sense. So 5% right now. Should I wait to refinance? I don't think you could unless you're a cash out, because you need a motivating factor. If the motivating factor is to reduce your interest rate, you can't get less than 5. You can't. Right now, it doesn't exist. So if you took cash out, that's a motivating factor, and that's a whole different loan. But if you're just trying to get your lowest interest rate, can't beat it right now. Now, if you're marrying a vet, that VA loan is a very powerful loan. But if you already have a 5% and you guys are thinking about getting another house, like, hey, I might rent this out because my mortgage payment at 5% is $2,200 and I can rent it for $3,200. I'll make $1,000 a month and I can go get another house with a VA loan, and it's my new primary residence. You can get it for 0 down, no mortgage insurance. It's an all-around good loan. If your veteran soon-to-be husband is 10% service connected or more, we can waive the funding fee. There is no debt to income requirement. There is no FICO requirement. The only thing that drives a VA loan is called a residual, a VA residual. So it might be the opportunity for you to really expand your guys' real estate portfolio.
Anna, you're in a good spot. You're probably in a spot that most people wish they were in, because you already have a house. You don't have to worry about down payment or anything like that, and you could potentially get another house with 0 down. So you're in a good spot, Anna. D. Islas, thoughts on the all-in-one loan by CMG Mortgage? I don't know what that is, but I'm going to bet money that you're reading a whole lot of data on marketing. I'm going to bet money that they're putting all this package together and making it sound like something that doesn't exist anywhere on earth.
Sounds like a repackaged cash-out refi that is paying off your debts. That's what it sounds like.
Or 100% financing using down payment assistance that's covering closing costs.
Yeah. So one of those two, and the programs aren't bad. None of them are bad. It's just I don't like it when they whitewash them and sell you bullshit. Because if they're not honest with you, you'll end up in something that you're not happy with. I mean, it's not overall good. Can't they just be honest and say, hey, this is a cash out refi. We pay all of your credit cards. We bring everything to get, and we bring it all in one package, one loan for your easy convenience. Yeah, but it's also 30 years. The amortization on that is 30 years versus a credit card, which is usually 7 or 10. And the interest rate does cost you more over time, which may even be worth it for you because of the tax write-offs. Maybe. But how about just tell me the truth and don't lie to me?
Yeah. Now, I will tell you that a couple places here and there, they got to be large enough and have enough assets and money. They do have proprietary products. There are a few companies that have those. Like, for instance, right here, you can get a product called a NAF Cash. So what that means is we're going to take your file, we're going to fully underwrite you, then your writer's going to say, yes, this person can buy. Then we're going to send you to NAF Cash, and NAF Cash is going to say, tell you what, D. Islas, you can buy this house cash. I'm going to give you the cash to buy this house, put in offers in cash so that you're at the top of the list when it comes to them sorting through the offers, okay? Being at the top of the list is a big deal because they're going to come up with top 3 or top 5, and you'll be in the running if you went in cash. And then after the fact, we'll finance you to the traditional financing. No funny business, no weird things, and that's something you can get here. It's a proprietary product. So a lot of companies do have their proprietary product, but they got to be large enough in order to come up with them. It can't just be a mortgage broker.
So DJ Crittenden, good morning. We say good morning. And then loading. That's a cute name, loading. Is there a limit on FHA loans? For example, if I want a $5 million, do I only need 5%? So those are different questions. I'll approach them one by one. Is there a limit on FHA loans? Yes, absolutely. There's a limit. There's a limit. And it's not near 5 million. Not even 20% of 5 million, unless you live in LA or Miami or Hawaii or New York, maybe Chicago. And the limit on FHA is what?
About 1.1, 1.2.
1.1, 1.2. That's the highest anywhere. At Orange County, the highest dollar counties to live in, FHA will go $1 million, a little bit over $1 million. But most places, 644, is that about right?
Yep.
644,000, most places, some places, all the way down to 400 and change. So it is governed by county And FHA changes this once a year. Once a year they assess everything and they go, hey, it's very expensive to live in Orange County. It's not reasonable for us to get a house for $644,000 in Orange County. So we have to make this loan available to people in Orange County. Let's figure out what the limit should be. A little over $1 million. And that's what they do once a year. And they put out those numbers. And then so is there a limit? Yes, there is. If you want to buy a $5 million house, no, you cannot get a $5 million house FHA with one exception. One exception. You put down $4 million and then we finance that final million. So if you put down $4 million, you fall within the FHA guidelines and we can do that.
Yeah. What's up, DJ? Good morning. Anna, do I need to have loans? Do I need to have loans to be approved for a mortgage? I don't think you mean loans. I think you mean credit. So other loans, not necessary. You don't need other loans to get financed for a mortgage, but you do need credit and credit history. Some people with certain loans, with certain circumstances, do need a certain amount of trade lines. But if your credit history is showing just fine, and you have a few credit cards, maybe they're at a low balance, maybe they got zero balance, whatever the case may be, then no. And I would say in most cases, you don't need other loans to get approved for a mortgage. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say they're helpful in order because the trade lines, multiple trade lines, show your ability to demonstrate responsibility. So if you got student loans and you paid it back, and then you got a personal loan, personal unsecured loan, and you paid it back on time, and then you had an automobile loan, which is a secured loan, and then you had a credit card, which is an unsecured loan, and you paid all four of those trade lines back on time, your score is going to be high, super high. The reason scores go down, you didn't pay the way you agreed. That's it. It's the only reason they go down. You didn't pay the way you agreed. There's always a story. Nobody cares about the story. I've learned that over the many years of doing this. Nobody cares. Did you pay it? Did you not pay it? That's all they care. They're like, hey, I got laid off. Nobody cares. Somebody that I love died. I hate to say it, but nobody cares. They don't care. It's just math. It's just, did you pay your debts on time? Because if you have paid them on time, then we know what you're going to do in the future. You're going to pay them on time. Yeah. So do loans help? They help, but they're not essential to getting a loan.
Here's what I recommend, guys. If you have questions like this, usually the answer is you're already qualified. I mean, usually, as long as your credit's good enough, you're already qualified. I recommend getting pre-qualified. It doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't impact you negatively. Maybe a couple minutes of work filling out the app on data, and maybe a couple minutes of work uploading some documents. But if you're interested in doing that just to see where you stand, you don't even have to commit to buy just to see where you stand. Go to the link in the bio, click on apply for a home loan now, start the process. Once it's done, it'll let us know, and then we can let you know where you stand.
CD Legacy 75 says, why are double wide financeable versus single wides? First off, CD, I believe you're a loan officer. I appreciate you being here. I do. I believe you're a loan officer. I appreciate you, because most people have no idea between the difference on these things. And I also think you're a loan officer who's up to date on the guidelines, because about 6 months ago, double wides were financeable, single wides were not. But guess what, CD? They changed that. Single wides are now financeable through all the programs. Yes? FHA?
Yeah, I think so.
Single wides. Yep.
Also, guys, if you have crap credit, go to the link in the bio. Get that thing fixed by clicking Fix My Credit. You guys already know if your credit isn't good, so just address it now. Get it cleaned up. Get it cleaned up while you can, and you're not shopping yet, because once you start the shopping process and your heart gets set on a home that you can't get, it sucks. So start fixing your credit right now. Click on the link. Gloria Marin. If I have $100K, what is the best use towards a house?
So Gloria Marin. Gloria. Listen, you're about to learn some good stuff. You got $100K, that's powerful. Very powerful. You need to use it strategically, because if you're buying your primary residence, it may be that you believe putting $100,000 down is good, but it may not be good. It may not be good, because if you can qualify with 3.5% down, and that only costs you $10,000, and you keep 90 grand, a $300,000 house, 10 grand, you keep 90 grand in your bank, it's going to cost you a little bit of money to carry that extra 90 grand that you financed, because that's essentially what you did. But when you refi later, it's going to pay off in spades. It's some good stuff. You might need that 100 grand to pay down some debt in order to qualify for more house. You might be better served paying off your automobile, which costs you $36,000 at $1,000 a month. Maybe that's the best way to use it. But you have the most powerful asset available, which is cash. Now, you need to know how to use it strategically to make it work in your life. And for everybody, it's a little bit different answer, because not everybody has a Raptor in their garage, or if you don't have a house, you don't have a garage, in their driveway. So if you do have a Raptor, well, then maybe we pay that bad boy off, because that's hurting you. Or if you have no debts, maybe we use 3.5%, get you in a traditional FHA, and then plan the strategic refinance, which New American Funding is going to do for free for 5 years. Free for 5 years. And then we use some of that 100 grand to buy it down when the cycle is at the bottom, and you get the best rate possible. Keep as much of that in your pocket, and you win the game.
That sounds good to me, Gloria. So you come here, you get a couple different options. Here's what it costs at 100 grand. Here's what it costs at 10 grand, and you choose. Anna, what kind of mixed credit do I need to be approved for a mortgage?
You take that.
Well, Anna, I got some news for you. If you have good credit history, if you've been paying your bills on time, if you have credit cards that have low or zero balances, you don't need a whole lot of mixed use, because you have the history that shows, hey, here's what Anna's done over the freaking past 10 years or 20 years. I can tell you right now that I'm basically 27 years old. And if I went to buy a house, I have loans that are paid off. I've had credit cards that have been paid off. I've had installments here and there. Maybe student loan you might be able to find in my history that's been paid off. So I have the history, so I can walk in with good credit score and history behind me, not with no open debt, okay? No open installment loans, maybe a few credit cards that have low balances, and get a house. So it depends on what your credit history is. Now, if you had crap credit over the history, okay, if you just had bad time, we've all had bad times, guys. We've all hit times where we've lost jobs, made some mistakes as kids. I bought a jacuzzi once. That was a big mistake. And maybe you're in that boat. And if that's the case, here's what I'm going to recommend. Get pre-qualified. Let us pull your credit. Let's look at it. Let's analyze it. Let's see where you're at, and then give you a path moving forward so that you can buy a house. So mixed use, that's a cute thing that a lot of the credit repair companies want to put out there so they can sell their business, but you don't always need mixed credit in order to buy a house. D. Islas, the only one loan is a 30-year HELOC with an integrated sweep checking account.
So that's what I mean. That's exactly what I was talking about, D. Islas. It is a fancy way to say HELOC. It's a fancy way. And integrated checking account, that's a really fancy way to say, we'll let you get yourself in more debt by giving you some checks to do it. No, you can have as many checks as you want. As many checks as you want. You just keep writing them. You keep writing them. The undertow on that is they have a secured loan. The security is your home. HELOCs are a very, very good loan. Very good loan for the bank. Very good loan for the bank. Not so good for the borrower, but usable sometimes, appropriate occasionally, amazingly good for the bank. Let me say that again. HELOCs are amazingly good for the bank because the bank has almost no risk. Even if you default, they'll foreclose and they won't take you to 100% LTV. So there's enough money in the house to pay for the sheriff, the attorneys, everybody involved, even the repairs, because that's what they look at. They look at, if you default, am I going to get my money back? And for the bank, they're like, hey, I can charge you 9% and there's no possibility you don't pay me. There's no possibility you don't pay me. Zero possibility. Why? Because if you start not paying me, well, I'll default. The minute they file a HELOC, if it's not your primary lender, the minute they file the paperwork, your primary lender is going to go, whoa. What do you mean you're not paying that bank? I'm primary. I'm the one who's going to hurt. What? You're not paying them? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to step in and pay them. And then I'm going to buy their debt. What? That happens all the time. So a HELOC is an amazingly good loan for the bank.
Yeah. So here's another thing, de-Islas. So when it comes to HELOCs, most places have their product. Okay, they have their product. It's a product. Okay, we do too. We have a product here at home at New American Funding. You can get our product, but we also have all these other lines of HELOCs that we can access that are probably just like that one, where it can give you a little checking account. Because here's what happened: once the rates went like this, a lot of people were locked up and can't get money out of their house, okay, because they can't qualify for whatever reasons. And they have a low rate. Maybe they have like a 3% rate from 2021 or something. So all these companies started marketing to us. So we probably have a couple dozen that we can access. And every day,
Money Man just joined.
Yeah, every day I get a new email from someone saying, hey, use our HELOC program. Hey, use our HELOC program. So there's so many different options out there. That one's not fancy.
Tony.
It's kind of cool that you can write checks out of it.
Yeah.
CD
Hey,
Legacy.
we appreciate all of you guys. If you're a realtor, if you're a loan officer, if you're an underwriter, we got underwriters online right now. We've got realtors online right now, and I think we got loan officers online. We appreciate all of you guys showing up.
CD Legacy said, no, I'm not a loan officer.
I'm country.
I'm country.
All right, we love it, man. We love it. See, date. We love it.
What do you want, CD? You want that single wide or the double wide, man?
Let's do it.
Get
Either
you
one
either
of
of
them.
them.
Yeah, we're going to get you one of those houses.
But you're right, man. Probably about 6-8 months ago, there was a guideline that said no single wides, no single wides. But 6-8 months ago, they opened it up and it said, yeah sure, why not?
Here's the guideline. It's pre-76, 76?
June 76.
He knows them perfectly. June of 76. Anything before June of 76, can't do them. Anything post June of 76, can do them. He took a loan from somebody where somebody said, hey, my mobile home was manufactured in 1976. All the loan officers said, no. Chris said, get me the manufacture date. It was after June. He did the loan. I was like, dude, that was a hell of a win right there.
There were some dates prior to June, but I'm like, when was this thing actually manufactured? Boom, got it. So CD Legacy, you need to call us, man, or just click on the link. Anna, I only have 6 months of credit history with a secured credit card. That will that qualify me for a mortgage?
Maybe. The only way we can find out is if we pull your credit. But you only have 6 months of credit history and you went to a secured credit card. My next question is, how long have you been working? That's the bigger one, because I need a 2-year uninterrupted work history or a degree or certificate that can satisfy the 2-year requirement. In other words, if you went to engineering school and you got out with a bachelor's degree in engineering and then you immediately got a job in Austin, Texas for $180,000 as an engineer, month 1, I can finance you because I can prove that you were studying for engineering and then you went to the engineering profession and I can get you going forward. So there's a few questions inside of that, but the 6-month history is maybe good. Maybe good.
Yeah, and if not, we'll guide you down the right path. It's all good. CD Legacy, I'm going to need to do a country check with you, man.
Yeah,
I'm going to need to do a country check. What kind of vehicle do you drive?
Yeah.
Give me make and model. Vehicle do you drive? But he asks, my land is in my LLC and the single wide in my name. What now?
What now? Sounds like you got the whole package, but none of it works. None of it works. I mean, if you're what you're telling me is you have an LLC, great. That costs money every year to file taxes. You got, even if you don't report a profit, you still got to pay the CPA. You still got to file the quarterlies. There's still a lot of money with an LLC. So you got an LLC. That's great. You got some raw land. That's great. I don't know if you financed it or you own it outright, but you got some raw land. Well, you don't, but the LLC does. All right, cool. Now you got a single wide. All right, the single wide's in your name, which is not the LLC. And you could say that I'm 100% of the owner of the LLC, but anybody can buy that LLC, or the LLC can go away. So you've got a lot of little pieces here, a lot. And only one of them is real estate. And the real estate isn't owned in a way that you can do conventional conforming loans, because conventional conforming loans do not go into LLCs. They only go into personal names. You told me you have your land in an LLC, which means you cannot do an FHA, you cannot do a Fannie Mae, you cannot do a Freddie Mac, you cannot do a USDA, you cannot do a VA, and a whole bunch of others you cannot. So that's off the table entirely because of the LLC. Now, if CD, you said, that land's in my name, pull up the deed, it says CD Legacy. And then you looked at the mobile home, and the mobile home says CD Legacy. So now you have ownership of both of these things. Still got some bad news. Here's the bad news. Unless that mobile home is affixed to a permanent foundation via 433 and an engineering cert, we are not qualified because that mobile home is exactly what it sounds like. It's mobile. You hook it up to my Dodge 2500 and I can take it anywhere. It can be my home in Texas. It can be my home in Florida, my home in New York. I can't get it to Hawaii because we'll get wet, but it can be my home anywhere. It's mobile. It is not real estate. The only thing that you've described to me is the land that is real estate, and it is in your corporation's name, your LLC name. So that kind of takes you off the table for all of these things. I don't know if that helped or it pissed you off.
I don't know. But CD Legacy, I want to know what's in your cup holder, man. I want to know if you're really country. And what's your favorite brand of cha? Let me know about that one too. We're gonna
Bud Light? Are you talking about Bud Light?
It could be a Bud Light.
CD, are you drinking Bud Light?
He could say.
Yeah.
I don't have a drink in my cup holder. It's where I spit my cha.
All right.
One of those
Miller Draft. Oh,
it's a Miller Man.
Miller Draft. Miller
Okay,
Draft.
it's a
All right.
Miller Man.
We can live with that.
That's not bad.
What part of the country, CD? What part of the country? Hey, I just laid out a whole bunch of things for you, and it's not so simple. Financing for regular loans, conventional conforming loans, the kind of loans that we deal with, are
Independence,
Louisiana. Love Louisiana. So they got some. I was in a hurricane in Shreveport one time, and it was insane.
Is that where you walked outside and flew?
No, that was in Guam. I've been in many hurricanes. I've been in Miami. I was in Guam.
This guy, he's like, there's a hurricane outside?
Oh, yeah.
Let me go outside.
Shreveport, Louisiana. Shreveport's badass. So anyway, the conventional conforming financing is very specific about financing for real estate for a person, not for LLCs, not for C Corps, not for partnerships. They're very, very, very specific. Very specific. And once we know it's a piece of real estate and a person, it unlocks all of the conventional conforming loans. So that's the answer. Up the generator.
Fire up the generator.
Fire up the generator.
You have to, man. You got to survive.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do, CD? I mean, what you already own both. Like, what are you trying to do? Take money out of it? Sell it? Turn it into real estate? Because right now it's just raw land. You have raw land with a vehicle on it.
Yeah.
So it's just like driving your truck on the raw land. You don't have real estate.
In California, mobile homes were governed by the Department of Motor Vehicles up until about a year ago. Then they switched it to something different. But literally, you would have to get your tags from the DMV. You'd have to go to the DMV to make sure your home is legal to put on there. Building a multi on it. Now, that's different. So, CD, I got some moves for you that might help you out a lot. And they might help all of our millions of followers out here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it is. First, that corp is holding you back because it eliminates all the loans out there. But if that corp transferred it into your name and it's in your name, titled in your name, now it becomes a personal piece of property. Okay, that's great. All right. So once it's in your name, now that opens up a whole bunch of different stuff. Like FHA has something called an FHA one-time construct. What? That's a big word. FHA one-time construct. VA has a special loan called a VA one-time construct. And USDA even has a USDA one-time construct. One-time construct means that we are going to put together the plans, get a general contractor, find all the people, and you can finance it with FHA. It's actually not fully an FHA loan. It's a construction loan backed by an FHA loan. And as long as you do it with their managers and all of their things, then you get the general contractor to build the property. They use their own special type of financing, but the financing is secured by the FHA loan that's behind it. So that general contractor gets the financing secured by the FHA. They get a certificate of occupancy. Upon certificate of occupancy, FHA steps in, takes over the loans, pays everybody off, and you now have a house. FHA one-time construct. Sounds easy, even though it sounded complicated. It sounds easy. It's not easy. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult, but can be done.
And
can
time
be
consuming.
done. Yep.
Time consuming. So since you're in the country, CD, you on a septic? I believe you're on a septic, right? So if you already have a septic, can you tie into that current septic?
Well, if you're on a mobile home, well, I don't know I don't know if your mobile home is mobile.
Yeah, he's septic.
If he's septic is that's a hard, because there's three big things when building on land. We get this all the time. Okay, first, here's one that's unspoken, but it still has to be spoken. That's entrance and egress. You need to be able to get to your property. There's some properties that are landlocked. You can't get to their property without going over somebody else's property. So you need an easement, entrance and egress. That's a big deal. Even though it seems like it's automatic, you should be able to get there. Nobody owes you the right. You need an easement or a road that goes by for entrance and egress. Then you need electricity to the house. You need electricity. That's not easy to get. It's not just fire up the generator, because you need something that's going to last all the time. It's going to get certificate of occupancy. So if you can get electricity to it, the next thing you need is water. If you're too far away from the city won't give you water. It's not automatic. And hopefully you can drill a well and hit an aquifer. But not all places have aquifers underneath. That's water underneath the land. So if your land allows for drilling and you can hit an aquifer, now you got to drill the well. That's 10 to 50 grand depending on where you go. So
utilities already in place.
Then the last thing is sewage, waste. And if you can tie into a city system, which maybe you do, if you tie into a city system, that's easy. But if not, then you need a septic system with the leach field. And that can be very expensive, not cheap, like 30, 40, 50 grand, depending on how many bedrooms and bathrooms. That's a big deal. And once you have all of those, and you're sure you can hit every single check mark, you can hit that. Now you talk about, can I get the money to build a house? Because without any of those, if you can't get to the property, doesn't matter how good that property is. Doesn't matter, can't get to it. If you can't get electricity, doesn't matter how good it is. Doesn't matter. If you can't get water, doesn't matter how good it is. Sewage is probably the easiest to solve. It's just expensive. But those other ones, electricity, water, entrance and egress, those are the difficult ones to solve.
Now it's time to find you a couple of good nerds, a couple of good engineers and architects. So good luck, CD Legacy. If you need help, reach out. Got a message from Jerry A. Cook.
What's up, Jerry A. Cook?
Jerry A. Cook's asking, how can a buyer get a loan if the roof is damaged during the contract escrow period? Ooh, hate those.
Ooh.
Hate those. But can be solved. Can be solved.
Wait a minute. How can say that again?
How can a buyer get a loan if the roof is damaged during the contract escrow period?
Okay, so
in escrow and they identified a crappy roof.
This is on Facebook, by the way. We got some coming in from Facebook, some from Instagram, some from TikTok, and some from YouTube. Yeah, we got people on YouTube too. So that's a tough one, but I'm going to get into some technicals, Jerry A. Cook, because I happen to know you're a badass realtor. I know you are. If you're buying a house in the Houston area, you really should consider Jerry A. Cook, one of the best realtors out there.
And he's setting us up. He knows the answers.
He knows the answer. Yeah, he knows the answer. So, if you're in escrow, there is a clear owner of the property. There's a clear owner, and it's the seller. The seller is the owner of the property, and the buyer is buying that property. And when they bought it, when they entered into contract, they entered into it in a condition. If that condition has changed, that contract must address it.
Because, you mean like a hurricane?
Like a hurricane. Like that happened in Houston not that long ago. So, that is now the seller's problem. And technically, the seller should have had insurance in order to cover this problem. So, now comes the tough negotiation. Will the insurance cover it prior to the sale? Maybe we have to extend the sale. Maybe we can assess the damage and the seller can do a price reduction in order to cover the borrower coming into the property. But that's going to get very technical. And I really hope both sides have good realtors, because there are times when you need a really good realtor. This is one of those times. It's like going to court. Sometimes you don't need a really good attorney. You don't need to spend $1,000 an hour attorney. You're like, hey, I was speeding. Well, in California, if you haven't gotten anything in the last 3 years, you can go to court and go, Your Honor, I'd like traffic school. And you'll get it like 99.9% of the time for that one ticket with not three. So you don't have to spend $1,000 attorney fee. Just go in and say, hey, I'll take traffic school. Then you go to 8 hours of traffic school. It's gone. It doesn't exist. So, but there are times when you go, hey, listen, I need a really good attorney, like Trump's attorneys. He's got really good attorneys. Oh, I can't say that word. Well, he's got really good attorneys. Why? Because there's a big deal on this. Well, in that situation, Jerry A. Cook, you need 2 really good realtors, because I promise you the borrower's not going to know what to do, the buyer, and the seller's not going to know what to do, because the seller's going to go, thank God I'm in contract. I don't want this problem. It's still your problem. You still own it. And if the buyer had a good realtor, they could walk away at any time for any reason. And by the way, all the way up to the final day of recording, you can walk away. I can tell you that the loan will have a problem. The loan goes, hey, listen, I think there's problems with all the houses that got hit by a hurricane. So I'm going to want roof inspections. Upon that roof inspection, they're going to find the problem. And then we have to work to resolve the problem. Can it be done? Yes, it can. Will it have to be remedied or resolved? Yes, it will. Because the lender does not want you to buy a house that you can't live in because there's a big hole in it because an act of God took it. Boom.
Yeah, Mia Love. How much of a loan can I borrow with 800 credit, no debt, and a $42,000 a year income? That's great credit, Mia Love. 800 plus, you're golden. You got the credit history right there. You've been paying your bills on time.
150 to 200, somewhere in that range. 150 to 200. It is gonna. There's gonna be a part where I hope you have some cash, Mia, some cash, because if you can buy down the rate, you can up your purchase price. But in your case, because of the $42,000 a year, that interest rate is going to be very detrimental to you. Very detrimental, depending on what part of the country you're in. So if you're in California, you're probably not going to be able to get anything. That's just the truth of it. If you're in Miami, probably not going to get anything. If you're in Louisiana, maybe. If you're in Arkansas, maybe. Some parts of Tennessee, maybe. So it's going to depend on where you are. Some parts of Texas even, maybe. So yes, if you have good credit, like 800, that's great. That's not good credit. That's great credit. 42K a year, we need to factor that in correctly and then see how much house we can get you.
Yeah, and Mia and everyone else out there that's paying attention, if you're in an area where you make, I don't know, under $50,000 a year, and you're actually in an environment where houses are $200,000 plus, you're going to want to factor a cosigner. You're going to want to line a cosigner up already just in case. You don't have to use them out the gate. We can qualify, like in this scenario, just Mia. See where she stands. Mia gets you to 175, and you're like, well, I want 225. That's where you rope in your cosigner, get us the documents, we'll pull their credit, we'll add them to the file. Very, very popular method, especially in today's environment where income is gradually going up, but houses are skyrocketing, okay, guys? So very common. I would say 1/3 of buyers have to use cosigners. Most of the time it's husband or wife or significant others buying houses together, which makes it a lot easier. But single income households, unless you're 6 figures plus, very difficult to do. So line up your cosigners. They don't have to be on them forever. There's something around the corner. Your timing is phenomenal because not many times in history can you predict what's going to happen, okay? If you pay attention to what the Fed said, or is talking about, is that rates will come down. We don't know when, but rates will come down. And when they do, we all know what's going to happen to prices. They're going to skyrocket. So when rates come down and values skyrocket, it opens up a window for equity. And when you have equity, you don't have to have mortgage insurance if you have 20% or more equity. Mm-hmm. So when you refinance, it's going to be easier for you to take over that loan if you do have a cosigner. And hopefully in the next couple of years, you get a little bit more of a raise, which gives you more income. Hopefully you keep your debts down and don't max out credit cards. And you might be able to take that cosigner off in a very short window of time.
Yeah, you can't predict what's going to happen in the future, but I can predict that we will be here tomorrow. And until then, we've been Chris and Lee. We are out.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Is today Wednesday?